Willie, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for being here. You're a Canadian kid, right?
Yes, I am.
And Canadian kids skate before they walk. Is that true?
Well, I believe so, yeah.
How old were you?
I was 3 when I started skating, and I started playing hockey at the age of 5.
Okay, so when did you say to yourself, I'm pretty good at this. Maybe I'm even better than the other kids, and I may someday be able to be a pro. When did you say that?
14.
14 years old?
14 years old. I decided I wanted to become a professional hockey player and hopefully one day not only play pro, but play in the NHL.
Now, when you were 14, did you know there were no blacks in the NHL?
I knew that there were no blacks. I knew there were blacks playing in other leagues, but none had the opportunity to get into the league at that time.
So didn't you hear all the stories? Hey, you may be a great player, but the color of your skin means you're not playing in that league. Forget about it. Do something else. Didn't you hear that?
I heard it, but it went in one ear and out the other with me. Once I decided I wanted to become a professional hockey player, and thanks to my older brother, who was not only my brother and my friend, but he was my mentor, and he taught me a lot of things that I'd need to know. And when he found out that I really wanted to play professional hockey and hopefully one day get into the National Hockey League, then we just took the steps, and I just worked hard. When I was 17, I left my hometown to go up to Quebec, Canada, and play my first year junior.
So there were a couple of obstacles. One obstacle everybody could see, the color of your skin.
Yes.
Another obstacle, not only could they not see, no one ever knew about. Tell people what the other hurdle you had to get over was, Willie O'Ree.
Well, my second year playing junior, I was playing in Kitchener, Ontario for the farm team of the Montreal Canadiens. And back then, none of the players wore any helmets, no face shields, goalies didn't wear any masks. And I was in a game, and there was a slap shot. I'm in front of the net. Puck ricocheted off, come up and hit me flat, broke my nose, broke part of my cheek. And I remember dropping down to the ice, and the next thing I know, I'm being placed in an ambulance and taken to the hospital. Dr. Henderson was the surgeon, and I'm laying in my hospital bed, and he came by my bedside and said, Mr. O'Ree, he says, I'm sorry to inform you. He says, the impact of the puck completely shattered the retina in your right eye, and he says, you're going to be blind and you'll never play hockey again.
Well, we know the second half was untrue. The first half was true. How did you play? Forget that no one knew. How do you play? I can't even skate, by the way, Willie, I should say to you in the spirit of full disclosure. How do you play professional hockey with one eye? I don't get it.
I know. I got out of the hospital, and the first thing I said, well, the doctor didn't know the goal that I had set for myself and the dreams I had about playing professional hockey. And I had a patch over my right eye. Within the next 10 days, I'm back on the ice skating. Now, imagine being a left-hand shot and playing left wing. To compensate, I had to turn my head all the way around to the right to pick the puck up with my left eye.
And no one caught on to this?
No, when I came back to play, everybody thought that I'd recovered from my injury.
Okay, so when did your chance come? When did you get the call or the whatever saying, we're going to give you a chance?
I turned pro in 1956 with the Quebec Aces. The Aces were affiliated with the Braude organization. I went to the Braude training camp in 1957 and 1958. Then I went back to Quebec and started playing, and then I got the call. They said, we want O'Ree to meet the Boston Bruins in Montreal to play 2 games against the Montreal Canadiens. So I meet them in Montreal, step on the ice, and play against the Montreal Canadiens. And I didn't know it at that time, but I was the first player of color to.
You didn't know it when you took to the ice?
I didn't know I was the first black player. It was just the dream that I had was
to play hockey.
To play hockey. I forgot about everything else.
So how were you how'd the fans receive you, that first game or the next game?
Well, the first game I was skating around, and I could see fans pointing like in my direction. Oh, there's a black player with the Bruins. And I was no stranger to the Montreal fans because I had played against the Montreal Junior Canadiens in the old Forum. I had played against the Montreal Royals in the old Forum. So when I stepped on the ice on January the 18th, I was just another Bruins.
So that was the worst of it? They said, there's a black player, there's a black player. There weren't racial epithets?
I heard no racial episodes in the Forum. Now, later on, in some of the other cities, I did.
How hard was that to take?
Yeah, it was tough, but again, thanks to my older brother, he said, Willie, he said, names will never hurt you, and if people can't accept you for the individual that you are because you have the skills and the ability to play in the league at that time, he says, forget about it. Just go out, concentrate on playing hockey, and working hard.
How did your fellow players treat you?
Great. The Bruins, absolutely fantastic. They were very supportive.
You know, you've been called, you've know this 10,000 times, the Jackie Robinson of hockey, and I'll tell you, the more I learn about you, you are. We've heard stories, Branch Rickey, they essentially, it wasn't just because Jackie Robinson was a great player. He had to be the right player, the guy who could deal with all the crap that he ended up having to deal with. Was there any of that with you? Was there any counseling? Was there somebody saying, you're going to take a lot of heat, you got to be stronger than just the hockey player on the line next to you because of the color of your skin? Did you hear any of that?
Yes. Before I stepped on the ice at the Montreal Forum on January the 18th, Coach Milt Smith and Lynn Patrick, the general manager, took me aside and they said, Willie, they said, we brought you up because we think that you can help our club. He says, you may hear racial slurs or remarks, but just let it go in one ear and out the other. You are just another hockey player in the Bruins organization. And basically, I just went out and tried to just, fulfill that and be the best player I could.
And it never got to you? I mean, you seem so strong and so positive. There weren't times where at the end of the game you go back to your room and say, I can't believe I have to deal with this crap. I'm a good hockey player. Why do I have to endure this? There were no moments like that?
There was a moment in Chicago.
What happened?
Oh, well, my first trip into Chicago, the old Chicago Stadium. Soon I stepped on the ice and was skating around. I could hear jeers from players on the opposition. I got into, as we're warming up, one of the players, a big, tall, 6'5" right winger, Eric Nestorenko. As we're warming up, he gives me a two-hander right across the ankles, and then he makes a couple of racial remarks. But we're skating around, just warming up. So we, the warm-up ends. We go in the dressing room. We come out. The first shift on the ice, I'm in behind the net with the puck, and I dump it off the boards. And Nestorenko comes in on my blind side. I can't see him. And he comes in and he butt ends me in the mouth and knocks my two front teeth out, splits my lip, splits my nose, and we get into a fight. Both benches emptied. The Bruins all come off. The Blackhawks all come off. There was 92 minutes and penalties, dispersed. I went in the dressing room and got stitched up and everything in it. And I wanted to at least come out and sit on the bench, but Coach Milt Smith said that these fans they want blood. You best stay in the dressing room, and they placed two police officers out in front of the dressing room, and I was pacing back and forth trying to listen to the game. But we used to walk up a ramp to go out and get the bus. They actually had to bring the bus all the way down to the ramp and park it right outside our dressing room door, and then they had to throw a canopy over the bus because there must have been 300 or 400 fans come down and throwing stuff and making racial remarks towards me, but. I just
and you listened in your head to what your brother said to you, and you just
let it go in one ear and out the other.
Did you ever meet Jackie Robinson?
Twice.
What was that like?
Wonderful. I met him when I was 14. I was playing baseball. I was considered a better ball player than a hockey player.
I heard that,
but they didn't know what I felt in here about hockey. We won the championship. Our team was taken to New York to meet the Empire State Building and see the Radio Music City Hall in Coney Island. I met Mr. Robinson down at the dugout after the game, shook hands with him. I told him that I play hockey along with playing baseball, and he said, oh, I didn't know there were any black kids playing hockey. He said, yes, Mr. Robinson, shook hands. I was in awe, really, when I met him. Then my contract was picked up by the Los Angeles Blades in the Western Hockey League, and I went out to Los Angeles in 1961. In 1962, the NAACP had a luncheon in Mr. Robinson's honor. I got an invitation through the hockey club. We went to the hotel. And Mr. Robinson is over in the corner talking to a couple of media people. The coach and our three players were standing here. We go over, and Coach Agar said, Mr. Robinson, I'd like to introduce you to three of our players here. This is, these two players, and newly acquired Willie O'Ree from the Hull Ottawa Canadians. And when he said Willie O'Ree, Mr. Robinson turned and made eye contact with me and says, aren't you the young fellow I met in Brooklyn? Now, this was 1949. To 1962.
History meeting history.
I couldn't believe it. I was in awe.
I'm in awe.
I couldn't believe it.
Willie, you work for the NHL.
Yes.
And you run a program, Hockey for Everyone,
yes.
right? Hockey still isn't for everyone. It was 12 years after you broke into the league till there was another black player.
Marson.
There are only, 50, 60 players in the years since. How do you fix that? How do you change it so that young kids of all colors decide your sport is the sport they want to play?
Well, that's where I come in. When I first came with the varsity program, there were only five programs. We have about 65 to 70 programs now throughout North America. And I travel around to different cities and talk at schools, elementary, middle schools, junior high, high schools, boys and girls clubs, juvenile detention facilities, YMCAs, trying to encourage and let boys and girls know that there is another sport that they can play if they want to. We will not turn any boy or girl away if they want to play hockey.
Is that the same thing you're doing? I know on Friday you're speaking to like 1,400 people at this Anti-Defamation League thing, a variation on the same thing.
Yeah, I'm talking on education, how important education is, and education, it really is the key.
Do you appreciate the place you hold in history?
Well,
this is a big, big thing.
Well, I have a lot of fun. You know, my dad said, Willie, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And there's a lot of truth to that.
Can I shake the hand that Jackie Robinson shook? It's a pleasure to meet you, Willie. Thanks so much.
It's a lot of fun. It doesn't seem like a job, but when the day is ended, I go home and look forward to the next day. What group of kids am I gonna have the opportunity to meet?
Good luck with your work, Willie.
Thank you.